shot from that far side, you've got two positions. You've got a crazy isolated and safe off angle. Maybe Team Secret sweep it away, but I feel like they could have tried to change that fight a little bit. Unfortunately, they're not going to have the opportunity to. You can see all of our beautiful players there on that multi-cam. Nice stuff. All 64 of them locked and loaded into the plane, heading on over Miramar. From Tierra Bronca over towards La Riyadh. You can see those overall rankings as well on the left-hand side of your screen. I know it was pretty rapid back over on the desk, and they were gambling to get through it. But we get a little bit more of a leisurely pace to look at this one.
That said, Alpha 7 taking first place is huge for them. You know, during the America season, I felt they dropped the ball. I really did. Third place, barely making it through a North American roster of the Wolves with Coops and Co. Like, nearly dethroning the previous Esports World Cup champions. So Alpha 7 finally skate by. They get top 3 in Americas. They come into today, at least in my mind, with a lot of questions, which have now been answered. Are they going to perform well on that stage? Well, absolutely the case. They've won 2 out of the 5 games today. They could very well go 3 out of the 6. It's absolutely a possibility. And Carrillo leading the charge of most eliminations is really awesome to see, because you already know Squash is going to perform well in the elimination category. He had the 2nd most eliminations during the PMSL America season. Then you also look, of course, on the opposite side, you have Revo, who you know can slay out. Yeah, he's a little bit quiet today, but make no mistake, he's always going to be that guy. And the Mafioso with the highest damage. You've got 3 dominant players who are controlling the stat lines across the board.
Absolutely, you've got to look out for them. You've got to make sure that you are ready for it. And are we going to see any hot drops, any early elims here? It looks fairly disparate between all of our teams right now. Maybe potentially over on the southwest side, Yangon Galacticos and DRX could come into conflict. But other than that, oh, El Pozzo, Alpha 7, Falcons.
That's interesting, isn't it? Alpha 7 Falcons. You've got one who won the club championship trophy from an organizational standpoint. Got Alpha 7 who are looking to reclaim the throne, and we're already getting it underway. But I love Falcons' elevation. Carrillo, being where he's currently at, he's got to focus down low. But the question is, does he have his head on a swivel? Yes, he does, and he'll know there's going to also be a Falcons member up top. But I think Carrillo, he's going to have to fight hard out of the spot. If he doesn't, he's down and out.
The strategy I think Alpha 7 want to go for here is dissuade this fight from occurring for as long as possible. You see the 2 players behind, they're going to be looting through, they're going to be gathering a lot of resources, and they are so important in these early game fights. If you find first aids, you're basically a god on these hot drops, so they're going to be looking to try and find that. Falcons a little bit more crunched in, a little bit more penned in by Carrillo's forward position, aren't going to have as much of an opportunity to go for that util, to find those meds, those stims, those things that can really change the tides of these fights.
Ralph, Narvalo, I mean, just so much going in the way of Team Falcons. I think they're looking great, I really do. And honestly, this fight should stalemate, if I had to guess. I don't see the reason why either one would want to really go at it this early on, especially when they understand what's at stake, the final game of the day. But let's face it, Team Falcons losing this is going to hurt a lot more than Alpha 7 losing this, right? So Alpha 7 can go in this fight kind of free and clear. They know they're well within the top 8. For Team Falcons, they're not. They need a solid ending to day 1.
They definitely do. It is, as you say, something they can't afford to let slip from them. Just like Falcons are going to continue. I mean, a fight for El Pozzo between these 2 teams seems like they're fairly committed. But Navallo grabbing a little bit more. It's burning time for this looting phase as well, which is what we ought to always talk about when it comes to these hot drops, especially on Miramar. Rotations take a little bit longer. You do need to get on the road as fast as possible. Mafioso thinks he's got enough to be getting on with, does have a med kit in tow, and will be able to get all the way up to the top, get that high ground unchallenged.
First shot. I thought the first shots were about to ring out. Mafioso, good trigger discipline, because the question is, does Falcons know where Mafioso is currently at? So if they go to let's say Falcons get a knock on Alpha 7 and they go to transition right to capitalize on that down, Mafioso could be the thorn in the side of Falcons' rotation.
Certainly could. It's oh, hang on a minute. Influence Rage trying to rock up to Team Secret. They say no, thank you. We're keeping our teammates safe, thank you very much. And that's 2 knocks already sent back their way. There's 1 player knocked off in the distance, but we saw they had the guard on. And now it's Lorazin and Lil Boy both looking to try and get away from this. They're not going to re-engage. They're just giving up the ghost. 2 of their players down, and they're even going to allow this Reds to come through.
Yeah, I think Influence Rage for them, backing away with the 2 players. Hey, that's probably the play. There's been a large conversation, at least in the Americas region, and I want your opinion on it. Is it worth it to just full sends with your remaining 2 players, your remaining solo, and try and go for the eliminations, or live to fight another day? Because there are some opinions that it's much better to just full send and fully commit. Even if you're the first team out, it's a better option than just surviving for another engagement.
Well, take a quick look at that replay. That was a pretty sick mow down there with the M249. I think certainly you could argue either way. The question is, as it comes to with all decisions, I think, in PUBG Mobile, is what is the expected value of a play? Which means, on average, how many points you get for a play like that. Is it easier to make, say, 2 points and lose the fight?
Sure.
In that engagement when you go in 2v4, or is it easier to try and live until 6th, 7th place as a duo, right? I think that it's a lot more predictable to earn that sort of placement points in that strategy. So for my money, I do sort of favor. It depends. Well, obviously everything always it depends.
That's right. Yeah.
But for my money, I think that the disengage is the correct play there.
I think so too, and I was trying to explain that because I'm like, disengaging, getting additional points when you know you're fighting for a championship here. You're fighting for hundreds of thousands of dollars, right? Literally life-changing money. Why not stay alive? Why fully commit when you know you're just going to be a martyr, right? I don't think there's any point in that. There are times, like you said, it's situational, and that's the beautiful thing about BRs. It's a beautiful thing about PUBG Mobile specifically.
Yeah.
Every fight is different. Every engagement is different. No map is the same. Yeah, you'll have similar situations, but every single time you drop into Erangel, Sandhawk, Miramar, you can't expect the same result that happened in the previous maps.
Absolutely not. I also think that there's several factors that come into play when it comes to the it depends side of the argument. One, the length of the tournament that you're playing in, because if you're playing high volatility strategies, you can take those into a longer form tournament and be a lot safer, right? Because on average, it's going to bear out earning the points, right? Sure, maybe 4 out of 5 times you get nothing, but 1 out of 5 times, all of a sudden, hang on a minute, I've got loads. But you don't see those 5 opportunities in a short form tournament. So for 12 matches, you do want to take a little bit of a safer route. And it goes back to what I was saying about earning 12 points in 1 map versus 1 point in 12 maps. It's the same impact on the tables either way.
Sure.
And when you shrink that tournament size set, those lower volatility plays, those more certain plays, become more and more valuable in this specific scenario in terms of points earnings.
Looks like Alpha 7 finally striking first onto the Falcons roster. Mafioso will drop 1 for Falcons. Not a guaranteed cleanup, I don't believe anyways. I take a peek, no. So Falcons going to have a downed player. That fight's still going to be extended. You've got a couple of rosters, kind of close, right? Hora could be moving in. Maybe the duo from Influence Rage for the third party. But as the zone starts to shift in just a couple of seconds, we've got to ask ourselves, does Falcon and Alpha 7 finally have to give up the siege? Oh my gosh, absolutely they do. Okay,
we're over to the Chumasera Hills, again a little bit further north than we were last time. This is going to be a mad dash. Right now, there are no players on the south side of Chumasera into those hills that we were witness to the last match. Now, who's going to be able to get there? DRX on a wide swing, currently passing by Demar. It looks like AXTMG... completely got the acronym there. AX
TMG, baby.
TMG going to be heading in to the east edge of Chumasera. So they're not even going to go for those hills down to that side. A lot of teams descending just straight into that urban environment. But I feel like DRX have the right call on this one, heading further south and into those hills.
That's exactly what they're going to do. DRX, a team, a shining star really of day one. Yeah, third place currently, but at one point was well within first. And you got to owe that to obviously their winner chicken dinners. 2 of them today only matched by Alpha 7. And Fireflux kind of, poking the bear a bit onto Power. Power says, go ahead and back away. I've been waiting for this roster to wake up. I will say, and again, I give them credit. I know they're in last place, but watching them get more active on Influence Rage in a map previously excited me and showed me Power is willing to make moves. They just have to fully commit to it and make that play call. But when they do, they can show that they can win fights. So for Power, I'm not giving up on them yet. I still think they're a talented roster.
Yeah, absolutely. It is just a question of delivering on that talent, right? And in a lobby like this, it doesn't mean you're not talented if you're not doing well. It just means that you're not up to that standard of the rest of this phenomenal lobby, which, you know, we have seen some pretty excellent players coming on through. Teams are looking to start to break past these boundaries. At the end of this match, it will be 6 matches played, and you're hoping that you're going to be somewhere in that 42 to 48 point boundary to stay up to scratch with that top 8 bubble. At the end of the day, overall, they should be looking in that sort of ballpark. Obviously, 80 points is where that bubble should be, in towards that 8th place at the end of all 3 of our days of games. But getting half of that done in your first day, that's great news. The more you can do, the better. So for Alpha 7, for 4 Thrives, they have already managed to pass that metric. You can bet that they'll want more, though.
Alpha 7, Falcons, Influence Rage on rotate towards the south, getting to the next stage. Falcons had a down player earlier. Mafioso managed to get a drop, but you notice they are now officially 4 strong. Falcons live to fight yet another day. The blue zone's not going to be too much, and I believe everybody's going to come in relatively unscathed. The question mark I do have, however, Falcons and Hora, because they're relatively close to each other, and Falcons are going to skate just by them.
Still not quite fully in conflict here. Hora could potentially divert, so could the Falcons. They haven't fully committed yet. The circle bounces back, so we had a hard southeast shift, but we do go further up north. I mean, this is good for all the teams that sent in towards Chumacera. It helps them out a little bit. For DRX, it looks like they're going to try and rejoin that mass of teams in the center. But that conflict on the west that you spoke about just before their reflections is going to pop off. And at the moment, it looks like Hora are going to be eating dust first. But Redox doesn't look super healthy. Will get knocked in turn.
Yeah, you got No Fear, who's also down Jiggle from off in the distance. Falcons look to be winning this in style. Granted, 1 player down, and well, they're not out just yet. In fact, they look like they're trying to dip, which means they're going to be leaving their teammate to bleed on out, which is so unfortunate for Hora. Putting up a wonderful fight, and Falcons are feeling the heat.
Sleepy able to spray them down, and actually Hora staying as live as 4, with Novalo getting felled as well by 4 Thrives. This is disastrous for the Falcons. They couldn't afford to have a bad game. They weren't able to leave El Pozo uncontested, and they are now flagging horribly. They are not going to be able to earn a lot of points on this map, and it looks like they're going to be ending their day on 22 points. Alpha 7 have taken a knock over towards Carrillo in the meantime, but they are looking a whole hell of a lot healthier. Unfortunately, there's an IQ nade sent over the top. Is it going to connect? Doesn't look like it's going to find that knock, and will be allowed to find the reds for Carrillo.
4 Thrives, they got history, but hey, there's even a third party off in the distance. Things are getting spicy. To be expected on the final map, teams are fully committing. IQ finishing off Revo, that's going to hurt. Typically the lead slayer for the Alpha 7 roster, but Mafioso also gone, and just like Falcons, same fate for Alpha 7, it seems, right? Both of those rosters started at a standstill. We thought they were going to explode into an engagement. It doesn't happen. By the time they have to shift all the way down south, well, they run into some issues. Our top rosters, unfortunately, falling a little bit early. And for Alpha 7, time is running out for them to get their last teammate back onto his feet. I just don't think it's going to happen. It's most likely going to be a solo trying to take on the world.
Same story for Falcons. Both of those 2 teams too slow off the mark. The hot drop, that was terminal for them, and Koa will go down on a rotate. Team Secret plays spoiler on that rotate from the north side to Alpha 7. Without the influence of Team Secret there, it would be a different story. It would have been a fairly even fight, I feel, between them and 4 Thrives, but it was not to be. They were too slow off the mark, and the circle continues to push us ever closer to the center here. I'm looking at teams in Chumacera. I'm thinking they're not going to have an easy time of getting out of this one, but these hills hold a lot of nooks and crannies, so potential to play Snake, to play slow, try and survive as long as you can.
That's it. Zone shift relatively soon. Vision, not a bad day from them per se. But still, finishing this game off would feel great for them, of course, and they've got to now travel once again further in, and well, they're going to have to cross paths with AXTMG, which is not going to be a good feeling, because I do think AXTMG is going to take the building just up ahead of them, depending. You've got a lot of company in that one area. For example, right, you've got Nongshim Red Force who's going to be rolling in. You also have, of course, E-Arena, and AXTMG finally starting to lay down some bullets downrange onto the Vision roster, who have to make a decision, swing wide or go straight in.
They can't stop off in that building because the blue zone will push them out. Meanwhile, over in Chumaceta, Fireflux are trying to go for a mad dash into the middle. They are heavily punished for it, but not getting knocked just yet. There is the push coming on through as they will crash straight into Yangon Galacticos here. They're not going to get any further than that. Scarface flushed out. Fireflux tried it, but they weren't able to get much more than that single knock onto Smile.
All the teams we knew crashed into this area, now forced to fight against each other. And if you're looking at the perspective, of course, the Fireflux, well, they're still taking a bit of damage. And, well, they're in shambles with only a duo left. Weibo up ahead. You also have, of course, Nongshim Red Force, who might be crashing in on you. It's going to be a tough one, but you would have to expect that. Going to these compounds this deep in the zone, you understand and fully know it's going to get active, it's going to get busy. You need to be ready to fight.
Vision rotating down to this south side now. They go for a wide sweep out wide. It's one of the decisions they had to make, and they have gone up towards Chumaceta. Look to go downhill off of this one. Where DRX started to play, they are going to look to push in from this south edge, with DRX already much more central here. I like this from Vision. I feel like potential misstep from the teams who pushed all the way into Chumaceta. And could be a little bit of an open run for Vision, where it didn't need to be for those teams who will now feel that threat from the south.
But I still feel, even with that early pressure from AXTMG, you got to appreciate Vision still staying alive despite them being spread out. I thought it was going to be a lot worse than what it ended up being. Squash, unfortunately, last alive from Alpha 7. We talked about it, and, well, he's going to try and survive as long as he can. But for 4 Thrives, they're looking to put the final nail in the coffin, and IQ is looking straight at Squash. I don't know. Are we starting to set up a bit of a storyline? 4 Thrives, the boogeyman of Alpha 7?
Could be. I mean, these guys came in. They're hugely popular. They've got a lot of support. Now they got the numbers to back it up here on the global stage. It is really good to see. Coming through for the CSA region, having a massive impact there. Looks like they want to have that repeat performance, a real breakout show from this roster from Pakistan. And they're having a great time with it. In the meantime, on the inside, Nongshim Red Force, they're going to find one of the players from Weibo. And Nongshim Red Force, again, same story as Falcons, closing down the day. They want to do so strong, but they've only got 2 players remaining. Sure, they're on the inside glut of teams in Chumaceta, but you've got to question their point scoring ceiling in this situation.
Yeah, but the tough thing for them is you got E-Arena as well, who's off in the distance, and they're third partying. So there's no safety net. There's no way to feel comfortable, even if you're trying to peek out a window, because, well, E-Arena is looking to gun you down. For Team Vision, still scouting, still thinking, how can we get involved in this next stage? Well, there's your answer, and they got to go forward. Now, for DRX, once again, they have to relocate. When we started off the narrative, DRX was in a great spot, but every single stage shift, they've had to rotate up. And now the job gets even more difficult because you got to go through Weibo. You've got to go through another roster, of course, of Nongshim Red Force, who is now getting third party by E-Arena. Then you have Galactico, too. DRX swinging left, maybe swinging wide where Hora is currently positioned. Is that a realistic option, or do they have to go forward straight into the other rosters?
It's such a difficult decision. I feel like fighting through these urban environments is always really difficult, especially with the road that's on your screen right now being as bad as a river in terms of getting across this one. There's so many teams in the circle on the far side of it. You have to think, maybe try and go around, right? Maybe try and sweep out wide, take a fight on an off angle, and try and play that west side against Hora, potentially one of the options there. But they've taken a knock, and that is, again, just going to slow DRX down. It's going to make their lives a lot harder towards this next rotational set. But all of those teams in Chumaceta should hopefully keep each other busy. Squash, in the meantime, trying to ply his trade, but it looks like IQ has his number.
That's right, IQ's been keeping a close eye on him. and is ultimately going to get the elimination. If it wasn't going to be him, it was going to be Naki, who was rotating over to seal the deal. He's still angry that he didn't clutch up that final player in squash in map number 5. Finally, Vision gets active onto the team of AXTMG. This has been boiling for some time. Vision was just on the outside looking in. XTMG effectively held them back. Vision then went for a bit of a reset, but now it's no longer time to sit onto the sidelines. It's time to push up because this compound is valuable and both teams want it.
It's also a chance for Power to third party if they want to try and find that engagement, but E-Arena are just around the corner as well. Power are too split right now to go for this full force, and the fight hasn't really set off right now. Engaging at this stage could just draw Team Vision into that backfill counter. That might be a tough time, but Vision now look to be committed onto the inside of the compound. They've moved 2 players on in, but they have disengaged. The game given away a little bit by an early third party from Power on the north side.
Marcelo, he's the one with the off angle. You got to question who's going to be looking his way. And Henry actually looks the opposite, so I think he's going to be the... Oh, you know what? He's even going to have a teammate. So this is a decent push as far as I'm concerned. Power, though, you mentioned that third party. They are hinting at it. They want to, but I believe it's going to be Nalif up top from Team Vision who's keeping them back so they don't get too overzealous. But that means he's going to be out of play, and now you got the Vision members who have to try and finish off the remainder of this XTMG roster who has 3 members. So it's going to be a good old-fashioned 3v3. The thing is, the longer this extends, the more opportunity for Power to move up, maybe even another roster to third party. And then at the end of the day, worst case scenario, you both end up cannibalizing each other. And then now you got to fight the rest of the roster with a solo or a duo. But either way, the fight must happen, and the fight continues.
The next circle just about to pop, and it will move away from the compound, meaning that this fight doesn't necessarily need to happen now. It could be a disengagement. I feel like that's exactly what Vision may have been looking for there. They might be able to find some exit frags, but they can disengage now. They just needed to keep AXTMG busy. They kept Power busy on the north side, but Marcelo charging in. They're changing their tune once more. Never Alone also breaking out with a bold push to an open wall. Was in a lot of danger there. Could have been nasty. In the meantime, over on the northwest side, IQ from 4 Thrives has been found, and they're now down to 2 players. Yeah. Leaving Ora with the advantage on the numbers. They've moved 3 players forwards. You can see No Fear on the back, looking for that backstab.
Yeah, it's T24. He's the thorn in the side currently of the roster of 4. No Fear trying to take him out. Finally, Vision as well as AXTMG start to unfold. Henry is down. Bolt swings wide. Takes down yet another member. The cleanups are in, I believe. 1 solo remains. I don't know where that XTMG roster... Or excuse me, it's Aaron. He's going to be off in the distance to the south of Vision. The question is, why was he so far away and not helping his roster? Because based off of what I'm seeing, he had a beautiful off angle, but he had 0 effect.
I think there just wasn't those sightlines available to him. It's really hard to have that impact against someone who's pushing so fast through those tight corridors. You don't know which window you're looking in towards. Could have potentially been played a little bit better, but in the end has to back off. In the meantime, a lot of teams are suffering now as they're having to move through, past, around, any way to get past Chumasara. It looks like DRX are going to break out west. They're not going to go through. They're going to float up towards where Horror were. They've given ground a little bit on Horror's side. Hyunbin, Rezable here, and this high ground position for DRX actually looking pretty tasty. They could potentially strike out all the way along it if they want to.
Yeah, they could, and I think it's going to be necessary because fighting this fight against Yangon Galacticus is not going to be easy. They already got 1 down, like you said, back on the feet, though, for DRX. They're going to be a 4-man unit, but Galacticos is looking straight at them. There is an opportunity, maybe, if a third party comes in onto Galacticos from the likes of Fireflux, maybe Weibo, who's just to the right-hand side of them. But for the meantime, Hora also, T24 going up against Jiggle, who is going to get taken down from the backside. I believe that was a third party from DRX. T24 finds the opportunity, takes a little bit of damage, but gets the finish nonetheless. There it is.
And Horror now down to 1 player alive. They had 4 on that angle, but DRX moved up. They got a knock and a flush, I believe. I don't know where all of their players went down, but we just saw that 4 Thrives kept it together towards the top side of those tables. DRX having a big impact here on all of these teams. They've managed to now get ahead of this Chumasara rotation. The flank out to the west, unchallenged anymore by Horror, is huge for DRX. This high ground spit of land is absolutely massive when it comes to the shots that they can take towards Fireflux, to Weibo, to Yangon Galacticos, and across the circle towards Regnum Karya.
Yeah, they've managed to take a power position. I'm so impressed. This could very well be the roster right before you to win 3 out of the 6 games today. A heroic effort for a roster that has played so very well. Already at 3 eliminations. One of the things we discussed was they're in 3rd place with 2 wins of the day. And that means because they're not necessarily slaying out per se, but this game could be incredibly valuable based off of their positioning. Now, I do want to say rest in peace, right, to one of our rosters, 4 Thrives, who is out. I feel like they put up a wonderful fight and a good engagement against Alpha 7 a little bit earlier, but they exit a little bit earlier than they were wanting in our final game of the day. But yeah, at the moment, I think DRX are in a great spot. The question is, though, for Galacticus, how can they get out? Can they effectively lead? Because I think DRX is going to gatekeep them.
It feels that way. Might just be power in the meantime. With 4 players, Alhaji wanting that res. It will be enacted right now. Ragnar brings him back to his feet, and they will play on us 4. Fidan now on the top ground as well as they open up, with Ragnar finding a shotgun shutdown onto NC2. They now have only 2 players to worry about. They have to conclude this fight fairly quickly. You can see the circle now just starts closing. It forces the issue on this fight as easy. Can't quite hold his nerve. There is a trade though, and Tony K wants to try and find the points where he can as Fadan looks to shut it down. Easy's out, but now in a 1 versus 3, they look at to try and extract themselves, but Tony K has more to say. Will fall as 2 players now remain. Can they get this res in time? I don't think so.
I don't know. It's going to be close, but they're going to try it, even picking him up, throwing him potentially in a car. You want to get your man back into the fight. They won the compound that they've been looking at for the longest time. Question is, will they have an effect in the late game? Meanwhile, we focus our attention onto Regnum Kara. Silas, again, so much for him in this tournament, going against Sleepy, who backs away, but the nade takes a little bit. Buggy, I believe, is now gone, and Sleepy, just a narrow bit of health, and this next nade should put him in the grave, and it absolutely will.
Beautiful overarm there from Regnum Kaya to keep that north side clear. DRX, though, still execution rolling downhill, as they haven't quite managed to find Yangon Galacticos, but nobody else is making their way out of this one either. Fireflux in the distance with just Matcat making his progress, but how long-lived will it be? Already taking damage. That could be from across the way. You've got Team Secret off in the distance, potentially third party, but Romeo is shut down. Hyunbin opens the cannon. DRX are down to 3 players, but they've got such an advantage on this high ground.
They absolutely do. Say Cloud Smile. I think this is going to be the ending. You have really nowhere to go, and DRX are all focused on you down below. And this is such a power spot that's been set up a little bit earlier in a future stage. You know, you look at where DRX is currently at in the standings, what they could potentially do in this moment. Yes, they've lost a player, but they're taking down the big dogs. But do they get tunnel vision? Because my only concern is Silas is also in the distance, and there is a chance potentially he's able to third party from where he's currently at. But in the meantime, DRX can't really worry about that. They've got to focus down low. Taking down Yangon Galacticus could very well put DRX in a winning spot in game number 6.
Definitely could. They have got that high ground advantage, but it's difficult to get them out of there at the moment. In the meantime, over on the northeast side, it's Regnum Kaya and Team Secret.
He's going for it.
These teams will be the teams to try and take that fight. Silas, with that big flex out, doesn't want to overcommit though, and I think that's wise. He did look for it, but won't get himself in too much trouble here.
Still felt there was an opportunity for Silas maybe to get some pop shots, but honestly, not a bad play, like you said.
Ooh.
Disengaging. Silas might be coming back and doing so in the vehicle, even if he... Yeah, they're fully collapsing. So now that you're so focused on YG, DRX is now getting pincered. The vice grip is closing. YG are taking damage, and DRX is pushing down. Yes, they'll get the eliminations, but now they've got the low ground. And the question is, will they get punished much like they just did the YG from Regnum Kara?
They've left Soaz up on the high ground. That will slow down Regnum Kaya because that high ground is not fully under control. They don't know that 2 players from DRX have dropped down. They know that a fight has concluded, they're sure. Matcap is also a thorn in the side of this position, and DRX need to be careful here. A misstep, and they lose a player, and that could be devastating. A nade in hand for Matcap, and there's a lot of damage being poured on in. Team Secret are here to play as well, and they can't quite get back up towards the top here. Matcap spotted, and the nade no longer an issue. 3 teams remaining. It's Team Secret, it's DRX, and it's Regnum Kaya.
That's it. You've got all 3 teams with 3 members alive. It's anybody's ball game without question. Team Secret, a win here would be tremendous. We haven't seen them in the winner's circle just yet. This will be their first opportunity for DRX, though. They won 3 out of the 6 today, and that's going to be a massive drop.
Where's Regnum Kaya in all of this? The opener for DRX is good, but will Regnum Kaya roll over the top? So easy. I think he's dropped down now. Goes down to a nade, and there's more to come as the high ground suddenly becomes a factor. But there's suppression for the backline of Team Secret as well. A nade, a close range fight coming on through with the shotguns. Two players to Regnum Kaya, one apiece for the two contenders here. Down beneath them, Hyunbin charges forwards and DRX are swept aside. Tosh Picker Wild now just have Frankie to deal with, and the backfill works wonders. Silas leads the charge, and the rest of the roster capitalize.
And it's up to Frankie to try and keep the hopes and dreams alive for Team Secret. There maybe is an opportunity. There was almost a clutch in the last game that we ended up watching, but Frankie's got a tall task ahead of him. He's got a player on the off angle, and it won't even happen. And that's going to be a tremendous win for Regnum Kaya, taking their first victory of the day and a much-needed win to break into top 8.
A beautiful result coming through from Regnum Kaya. As you say, much needed. This day caused a lot of worry for fans of Regnum Kaya. They have not been their usual selves, but they've always got a little bit of life in them. There is a reason they are the PMGO champions. There is a reason why they are here and why we talk about Silas with such reverence. They do manage to pull it out in the final match of the day, but their job is not done. They have not managed to put